Today we have Hannah on potty, who is it's funny how we met. We met in the bookshop, hey?
We did, actually.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember that too, yeah.
It was funny. I was in Mobile and I saw this cute little bookshop and I was like, I'm called to go in there. And I went in and we connected, we clicked. But yeah.
There it was.
But yeah, Hannah is a muso, writer, mother, creator. So I thought I'd get her on the pod to chat a few things that she's well versed in. It's just like with guys, you can't like spoon feed them. That's what I'm beginning to realize, is that you can see so many areas and you can just be like, if you tweaked this, this and this, you could just fly. But it's not about being the mother anymore.
No, it's true. And you can lead a horse to water, you know, like when you meet someone that you want to be with and then you're just like, okay, yeah, you'll make it work when it's right. But when you know that it's not, and then you keep on just like, I'm just going to keep pushing shit uphill.
Why do we do that?
What
is that?
I don't know.
I'm beginning to think that it's worth, because I think with this last guy I was just like, he doesn't see my worth. And then I just like sat back and I was like, wait a minute. Why do you even need him to see your worth? You should be seeing your own worth. Then it was just like a full fucking moment where I was like, I thought I really valued myself and viewed myself as somebody who was worth like the whole meal deal, but to my core I didn't actually fully believe I deserved like a real kind of love.
I think that, and particularly, how old are you?
28,
okay. So when like we as women hit like around about 25, we get this thing happen in our like actual biology where we get this like rush of estrogen, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this thing that is like it's meant to like, you know, because we're meant to be having babies, right? Mm-hmm. So we're like at this point in time where we get this hit of estrogen and it's like, you need to take care of these children. Children are kind of probably going to be cunts to you. Like, you need to learn how to serve them in order to survive. And for them to survive and for the survival of all of humanity, we need this like whack of estrogen. Yeah. And so I think that like question of receiving is such an interesting one, because like developmentally at this point in our life, I think that we are like almost wired to be in service. Yeah. And it's like, it sounds so archaic and so fucked up, and it feels fucked up. Like even when I'm a parent and I do have that responsibility, but I still feel like it feels somewhat unjust, right? Because
there's a bit of resistance there as well.
Yeah, and we're in this age of like, you know, wanting to have access to everything and wanting to do everything and be everything all at once, but like we can't deny that like physiological drive to want to care for. Yeah. And
it's a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful. It really is, but it's hard. It's hard to like, especially now, to be all of that. Like my son is 7, and I've only just really accepted that I'm his mum.
Fully.
And that I have to raise him.
Yeah.
It's such a process. It's like full on.
Interesting.
And so in terms of receiving, I find it really hard. Yeah. And like, I don't know, like just that sort of, because we are in such an interesting time as women, as a whole society, but I think for women in particular, it's like we're on this very interesting cusp of like being made to feel like we need to be everything.
I guess when it's in flow, it doesn't feel like it's a lot and you can juggle it all. But yeah, I always thought that I really, really want to have kids. And then the other day I kind of woke up and then I was like, I don't know anymore. What's the best thing for you about parenting? Like what gets you going the most?
I think that one of the most beautiful things about being a mum that I didn't anticipate so much was like the level of learning that you have access to when you're raising a person. So it's like when you're kind of just like a single, like I'm here to care for myself person going about the world, it's like you can have these opinions about things and not really question them, and they can come and go, and it's like it's really all quite fluid. But my experience of parenting has been like so intriguing to me, because you're like revisiting the firsts of everything. Like it's like the first time that you smell a flower, the first time that you eat a mulberry, the first time that you like have all of these really wonderful experiences. And I think that it has really helped me to like be astonished again. And like, that's not every day, for fuck's sake. Like, most days are like challenging, but yeah, it's been like a really astonishing thing to see the world through his eyes. And he's so creative and so wonderful, and so kind, and so geared towards joy and love. And yeah, I think that was like really refreshing for me, and something I really needed.
Yeah.
I had him when I was 25, like just 25. And I like had this real hang up about being a musician. One of my brothers, when I was like really little, had said to me like, oh, if you're not a famous musician by the time you're 25 and you're a woman in Australia, like you can pretty much kiss that dream goodbye. No. And so as I approached 25, I was like, fuck, like scrambling for any excuse to not be successful.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, I'll have a kid. Yeah. That'll knock out at least the next like 7 years of my life before I can do anything for myself. And it did, because I let it. Yeah. That's not like a hard and fast rule, but I was like searching for that.
Yeah.
And so I've had like a really conflicting relationship with parenthood, and didn't have any friends who had kids. Like I was like very isolated and really struggled.
Yeah.
And then, you know, faced like COVID and then loss and so much grief and so much sadness. There was just so much going on that was like, oh my God, I'm the most misunderstood like person in the entire world. How do I now like guide this little child through?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. But we've managed, and he's pretty remarkable.
He's completely remarkable, man. He moved me from the moment I saw him. I was like, who is this kid? Like, how did you do this?
Yeah.
Would you say that he was naturally just like, he's just next level? Like,
yeah.
Were there things that you focused on in terms of expression and things like that? Because I just feel like he's, you know, you see a lot of parents being like, if I let my kid dress the way he wanted to, he'd wear a tutu. And I'm like, why don't you just let him wear a tutu?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like you guys like match sometimes. He's got like pink Crocs or like, you know, was that a focus for you, or?
No, I mean, like naturally, like I have that like natural proclivity towards like dressing up and like being a bit nuts. And so I think he just sort of saw that and probably adopted that behavior from that. But honestly with him, it's like, I don't know. So sometimes when he stays with his dad just like is in a rush or whatever, and he'll go to school dressed as like a total numpty, and he looks like, you know, like he doesn't look cool, but he still has that incredible like vibrancy to him. And like honestly, every parent loves their fucking kid, I get it, but like I've never met a person who struggles with banjo. I've never ever met a person who's like thinks that he's annoying or anything. Like he is honestly just so wonderful and so unique and so thoughtful, and like he's just like an old man in like a little kid's body. And I don't know, I would say that the thing that I feel like I did right was surround him with amazing community, and always like give him access to more than me, and more than his dad. And so he's had like, you know, like my best friend, her partner Tay, he like took him off the other day for this like amazing big bike ride through their property. They've got like 100 acres in Ukai, and I could just hear like him laughing his head off in the distance, and this like echo going through the valley, and Tay telling him all these stories. And it was like not viewing banjo as a burden to anyone else, like handing him over with this like real willingness to people who were really willing to love him and to like foster him through life, I think was probably the best decision. Because he's so comfortable with people. He's like, you know, he's not one of those like kids who's shy. He's never ever been shy. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but he's just really outgoing. And
I feel like there is a little bit wrong with being shy. Just saying, like, I feel like it's something that I will focus on if I have kids. It's just being like, you know, go meet people, go be curious, like start conversations and stuff like that, because you don't see that a lot. Like, I feel like I try and engage with kids in cafes and stuff, and a lot of them like, if you look at them. Whereas like a little girl came up to me the other day, sat down at the table with me, she was like, hello, and whatever, and like, I just like, I was almost crying at the fact that she was just so beyond her years at the age of 7 or whatever, so intelligent. I was like, but I'm just going to pause it there because you know what I forgot to do, because I have period brain. I forgot to put the second camera on your face.
Period brain is a thing.
I start conversations with people on the look of like, just the blank look.
I watched your podcast this morning, and you know, I've listened to the ones prior to that, and like, yeah, I feel really akin to you in that sense of like always like seeking to understand, right? And understanding is like a superpower. Like when somebody provides you with understanding, it's like, oh my fucking God, like what a relief. And I think that like it's such a marker of like really highly sensitive beings to delve, right? Because it's like we're having all this like wellspring of like feeling, and like, hey, I'm like looking for an answer for this like huge gap between being understood and having this like huge amount of feeling. I think that like the health of like the most highly sensitive beings in our society is like a measure of the health of our society, right? Like, because they feel the most and they understand the most.
It's a really cool thing. I like that.
It's true though. And so it's like when we look at this like sense of unwellness and like misunderstanding, it's all it is, right? Like, because if we were all understood all of the time, if we all like gave each other that, we wouldn't be so isolated and so alone. But we are, because the society is unwell.
It is.
We are unwell.
Because I say things like this, and then there's a part of me that's just like, no, it's your perceptions, it's the way that you're viewing it. And then, you know, I see things going on in my day to day, and I'm like, wow, I wish we would all wake up a little bit more, you know. But again, it's about just staying in my own lane and trying to do my bit and having these conversations. But I gotta say, it's truly comforting. I fucking knew it would be as well, hearing what you have to say. Really, really good with the words.
Thank you.
Yep.
I've been reading about Stoicism a lot lately. So like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all these like amazing people who's like, you know, we're living at a time that is like very much not modern society, but the things that they have to say like comment more succinctly about modern society than they do about their time, kind of thing. Or just like the reflection that this has been something that's been going on in one way or another for a very long time. But they talk about, you know, because I've spent so much time in my life being very fucking angry and trying to do something about it, and you know, because like that unwellness that I like see has had such dire effect on so many people that I love, and so I'm like, well, fuck this, I'm angry about it, I want to do something about it. But I've had to come around to this place of understanding that like I cannot control literally anything except my character and how I treat other people.
That's it.
And that is literally it. Like, I'm like, can't control my health, I can't control my son, I can't control the weather, I can't control Instagram, I can't control literally anything but my own character, how I show up.
Character is everything, baby.
It's everything.
Yes.
And it's that thing where it's like, you just, I don't know, this book that I'm reading, she talks about having this, it's like a control test where you're like, I'm feeling misunderstood. What can I do about it? Right now, I can't make anybody understand me. Can I make sure that I show up for other people with understanding? Absolutely. Can I hope for the best? Yep. But I can't change it. And so I like set about seeking understanding for myself and hoping that it's reflected.
That's it. And it's a funny thing always, like, always being the person that's trying to understand everyone else's things as well, and just like the level of empathy that comes naturally as well. Like, it's kind of crazy. It just makes me reflect on that, because sometimes, I don't know if you ever feel like the bad person complex, where you're sitting there and you're just like, I'm a bad person. Like, you just like, you know, you do all these kind of beautiful things and you never arrive empty-handed, and you give compliments because you really feel them, and you know, people are going through hard times and you try and offer support, and then you still get home and you're still just like, I am a cunt.
It's a weird one. Why though?
I just think, isn't that just the little voice?
Yeah.
Like, it's just the little monkey.
I've always really struggled with that like sort of vacillating thought between, like, I've been in a few situations recently and I am like, where I have that feeling of like questioning my character, or like questioning the reality of a situation and my part in it, kind of thing. That I reach out to my friends so much. I'm like, or my parents or whoever. I'm like, no, these are all the details. Did I do the right thing? And like in these, even in situations where it's like bleedingly obvious, where it's like, oh, someone's like bought your car off you and not paid for it, kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that I'm angry at you for not paying me for the car that you bought off me. You know, things like that.
Fully get you, yeah.
But I still sit there at night being like,
sorry, table. Yeah. No, it's called gaslighting the self.
Yeah,
it's what
exactly.
we do.
I know, it's
mental. You can always see every time. You can always see, like, you see your point and then you see their point and you're like, but what if they've lost their dad, you know? And he's not paying for the car because he's had a big day's work, and you know, you always just think like that. And then it's just, what I realized the other day is that, of course we have the answers, and it's like, if you're asking all these people for advice and stuff, then all of their opinions become your opinion. The other day I was writing like a pros and cons list for this decision that I'd made, and I was writing all the cons, and the cons were just going wild. And then I went to write the pros, and I was like, and I've been fumbling on this for a while. The pros, but there was 2 fucking pros. And then I was like, okay, interesting. I picked a card. The card said third eye. So I did like a third eye meditation. It was just like, you fucking know. So stop going back on it, sort of thing. Like, you know, all the answers are within. And it's like, I think you've got quite a nice community from what I've seen, in ways that
Sometimes.
your best, well, that's it. It does flow. It does. But it's like your best friend that you're in Yamba with, she seems like a bit of a soul. Unless you've been there overnight. Yeah, you just get good vibes.
Yeah,
like,
she's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always really struggled with friendship, or relationship in general, but friendship, because I'm not great in massive groups, like terrible. But I would like look at you and be like, oh, Kathy has a bazillion friends and everybody's always
Everyone
together.
says that.
It's so interesting. But I'm like, I really have always struggled with that, but I desire it so deeply, and it's something that I get like devastated about.
Yeah.
But actually I am like so much better in communion, like one-on-one, because I really love to get to the bottom of someone. Like,
it feels.
It's like the greatest gift on earth. And so I'm a real best friend kind of person. But I remember when I was a little kid, like my parents were super Christians, and I went to a Christian school, and I used to like kneel at the bed of my like single bed in my bedroom, and I was like, please Jesus, please just give me one friend. All I want is one friend. And I don't necessarily believe in all of that anymore, but I do believe in like the power of like the intention and creation.
Sure.
And
there is a God. It doesn't have to be Jesus.
Exactly. And every time I look at Brooke, I'm just like obsessed with her, you know, like, and flabbergasted that she loves me back. And she has like, in terms of like true friendship, she has literally been this like hand-holding extreme level of patience. Like I've gone to her a million times. I'm like, anyway, I just think what I need right now is to be single. And she's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. And then I'm like, I'm dating 12 guys at the same time, but I'm like, no, but I will be single. And, you know, going back on decisions, she knows me so well, and she has just loved me like through the fucking worst shit ever. And it's, she's like constantly providing inspiration for like how I would like to live.
Cool.
And so she's like the most amazing like beacon over there, where I'm like, every time I do something, I'm like, plant a tree in the ground, I'm like, I'm a step closer to being Brooke.
Yes. Oh, that's good. They say you should be with people who fucking think are better than you in ways. I think that's nice.
It's nice.
Without putting them on a pedestal though.
That's hard too.
Yeah. I had a habit of doing that. I'd be like, so I wonder why these people are my friends. Like, because I've got a few friends that I value very deeply that I don't get to see often. And I'm like, they don't really want to be my friend. They're just doing it because because they feel sorry for me.
No, I think everyone wants to be your friend, actually.
I appreciate that. I actually, there's a lot of people, without tooting my horn, that want to be my friend. The problem is I just want that really deep Yeah, I just want depth, and
Yeah.
there's not, like, I want depth that just keeps going till the end of time.
Yeah.
That's why my brother and I are such close friends, because he's constantly moving through shit. I'm constantly moving through shit. There's different interests always, and like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like when it's the same shit every fucking time, it's the same talking about people or whatever, it's just like gets old.
It does, hey.
And that's what I see in you. I'm just like, there's so much to know about you, which is so exciting.
Yay!
Like, yeah, it just could never get boring, you know.
Yeah, it's a practice though, because
Yeah.
like even Brooke and I went through like a huge period of time after our bookshop closed down. Like that long story that I won't go into, but we like had a common enemy at that point in time, and basically for I reckon 6 months all we did was bitch about this person, and just like downward spiral. We were just like literally pulling each other down into this fucking like quagmire, and it got to a point where we were like, we got to stop doing this. You know, we've made these like incredible like friendship agreements several times to stop shit behavior and stop heading towards things that we don't want, and like you know, we've had 3 businesses together now, and you know, done all these silly things, and we both have like really low staying power, so we move through them really quickly, but it's like we've had lots of opportunities to be fuckwits, and we've had to like make that decision within our friendship so many times to not.
It's cool to hold each other accountable. Same with my brother and I feel like we're very opinionated people, and then there's like a fine line between having observations and just fucking drilling people, but we've had to be like, alright, let's divert the energy back to something that's going to be a bit more energy giving to the self rather than fucking folding people in half. But
Totally.
I wanted to talk a little bit about like the importance of like channeling like pain and grief into creativity, because I noticed that every time you go through something like me, you make it into art, or maybe not every time, but these big huge things always end up as a beautiful gift for us to enjoy.
Yes, so I think that I mean, I know for me it's like not really a choice, which I'm sure you probably feel as well. It's like what comes out is like the overflow of my heart. But I do think that when you are like naturally gifted in a way, which like, you know, I it's not like a toot my own horn thing, but it's like I've always been able to do what I can do. It's like not something I've ever tried at, and I've always wondered what it would be like if I actually did try. But it's like, I'll give you a backstory. So I started playing music when I was really young. So I had this like family that was just constantly going through really, really hectic things. And my mum at a point essentially just like had a nervous breakdown, right? And like sits herself down on the couch and kind of just doesn't speak. And I was probably, I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, 10, around there sometime. And I was like constantly going to my mum and just like I energetically feel it in my body, this like what it was like for me. Like I was like completely stressed and anxious and just wanted my mum, but my mum was just gone. And I'd constantly go to her and be like, Mum, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And even though she was like, yep, there was that like felt sense that she was very much not okay.
I felt it early.
And I was so young, and you know, like my brothers, I have these 3 older brothers, and they were all into drugs from like such a young age, and like, you know, had really horrific like things happen in their lives prior to that. So it's like one of those situations where you can really consciously understand why they ended up doing what they did. And so, you know, my mum's just like obviously been with them through all of that as well, and now is at that point where she's just at capacity. And so she just stopped, and I was just like fuck, couldn't reach her. And so I started playing music, and I would just sit next to her on the couch and just be like, you know, little novice on guitar, and could always sing, but just like was just newly learning how to play the guitar, and I'd like sit and just play her songs, and they were like please to my mum, like, please be well, please get on through this, please get better. And eventually she did. And she's like writing a book about her life at the moment, and in it she's like, that is what saved me. Like, listening to my daughter singing to me was like what pulled me through. And so I had that sense from a very young age that like, this is not for me. This is like a responsibility that I bear as a human to share.
Yeah.
And so like it's something that I have a really fraught relationship with. My kinesiologist has like said to me a few times, she's like, there is like a certain type of agony attached to not fulfilling your like soul's purpose. And in a lot of ways I feel like I'm not yet.
Yeah.
Like I haven't quite found it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't, you know, I can't quite wrap my head around how to navigate this new world of what it means to be a musician. And
what is it though? Is there an end goal? Or are you doing the dangly carrot thing where you're like, when I get to this, I'll be...
See, I don't know. I don't think that I think what I'm feeling is that I'm not sharing to my best, to my fullest capacity. And what I can do and what I have to say is meant to be shared. And I know that on like a deep level. And there's so much ego in the way. It's scary, but it's also not. Like, I mean, because I do it anyway, right? I'm constantly like writing, constantly sharing, constantly talking, constantly like exposing myself in these ways, but not with the like that pointed like gift that I have been given, and the vernacular that I have to share that with, and I'm not really using it to its fullest potential, and I know that.
Well, what is there something stopping you?
Ego. Like, it's like that. So it's mostly like, like I'm looking around at so many of my like musical contemporaries at this point in time, and I'm like, I don't have the fucking get up and go to like make the film clip. Record the song. The process of it is like the music industry, the industry of that industry is so foreign to me that I'm just like, what the fuck?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work
for the return.
Yeah.
For the uncertainty of the whole thing.
And I feel that there are like, I'm not alone in that there are so many incredible musicians with like such deep textured stories to tell that don't, because of that,
For sure. What about not doing it like that though?
Well, this is the thing, and I'm kind of getting to that point of, like I was listening to your last podcast and you were talking about eating disorders and everything. That's something that I've like struggled with since I was a little kid. That was like when everything went out of control when I was that age. That was my like mechanism for supporting myself and controlling myself through a time of like absolute disarray in my life.
Which I feel.
So it was, that's been a huge thing that's held me back, because physically I've always been like, oh, I'm not beautiful enough, or I'm not this enough to be able to do it, right? And so we're moving out of a time where like, there was a point in time when I was younger where that was a real priority in the music industry. You had to be like something, but we're moving out of that now, and I can totally accept that. And I can accept also that there was a point in time where age wasn't a factor, like, or a barrier to success. You had to be young and blah, blah, blah. And I get we're also moving out of that. And I don't know, my journey for the last little while has been like, how do I get to the point where what I'm sharing is the absolute most authentic expression of my soul and my story? And am I like just writing a love song because I think it's going to be popular, or am I being like, fuck you, asshole? Like,
you can't think about it. I'm in the exact same boat as you. You're constantly asking these questions, and it's just like, you make something, it doesn't feel good enough, it doesn't feel polished enough, and there's the perfectionism, and it's like, the intention behind what you do is to help. That's like, that's the intention. It's to share. Art is to help. It's like, I think it's all about, for myself as well, like, we need to stop fucking thinking so much and just doing. Like, you know, I recorded this like first yoga video yesterday, and I was just like, this is shit. Like, you know, and I'm just like, am I even gonna fucking do anything about this? And I think I should just start somewhere. You know, the first podcast was shit, but it's just like, you know, I don't know. I feel like we need to just both get out of our own ways.
Yeah,
and
true.
It's like, what? That's your truth.
Yeah.
Like, that's your fucking truth. What? If it is maybe in fucking spite of someone, maybe they'll learn something.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. Like, it's like, it's got to be honest, right? And I think that's what I feel like I have not been honest. And I've been like trying to like curate things in a way that was not honest. Like, even my physical body, like my hair's been going grey since I was 18, right?
Yeah.
And I've been like dyeing my hair, and a lot of it's been fun and a lot of it's been expression, but a lot of it has been insecurity.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm like, even the process of like letting my hair go grey and like letting my body be its authentic expression of what it is just going to naturally be has been like,
it's scary shit,
but massively freeing
and necessary. You get more beautiful by the fucking day. You look so healthy.
Thanks,
like,
darling.
truly. And I do think with the body stuff, you get to a stage where, like, you know, you drill your body for so long, you hate it for so long, and then you think you're going to get to a stage where you're like, oh, my body's naturally regulated and I'm just going to have to accept it. But I think you get to that, but then you move through to a new phase where, I don't know, that's where I'm at, where I'm like, oh, like, no, I actually genuinely am starting to love it. But I'm curious to see where you do go with the sharing and stuff like that, because that's truly something I've been... I was even writing this morning and I was like, just wrote so much and then I just went, delete! And just like went straight. I was just like, get out, like... I want to write this piece on like not having talking faces, like not talking to guys online, not doing apps, not doing Instagram, like, because, you know, words, like I'm all about action sort of thing. It's like I was out the other night and I saw this guy that I used to kind of think was hot, nothing much more than that, and I was like, I don't feel like this. As I said, I'm just not really interested in guys. And then I get home, next day I see he's messaged me and I'm like, you just didn't even have this fucking naz to come up and chat to me. You just went straight to your phone. And So I kind of like, it inspired that sort of blog. But then, there's mad guilt around that because I'm pulling people up on this shit.
Do you know what though? Like, this, something my kinesiologist said to me the other day, which I loved. She was like, can you just like create some boundaries around the way that you create, and can you just sit and create and not let the editor in the room? For a time.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
Can you though? Like, can you just like forget about the possibility that it's ever going to get shared, and can you just be honest?
Yeah.
And then like, for me, every time I've done it and not allowed that editor to come in and be like, oh, cheesy, oh, don't do that, oh, no, you can't say that because that's not blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I just say it comes out the most earnest version and the thing that actually needs to be shared in the first place, right?
Yeah, you just gotta fucking spill it.
You do. And I think that like no one is... like, there's no one like you, right? Like, no one is having the experience that you're having. No one is, like, going about it the way you're going about it. No one's responding to, like, stimuli the way that you are. Like, what you're sharing, the whole purpose of it is for you to, like, be sharing your absolute most unique experience and hoping that it mirrors something for someone and helps.
That's exactly it. In the end, it's like, I actually don't really give a fuck what anyone else thinks. Like, I care about my close people, but... I guess, you know, throughout the COVID thing, I don't want to attach to the story, but the amount of, like, fucking hate and shit I copped throughout that, it took some wind out of my stride.
Yeah.
I used to share so fucking freely. I used to take the piss out of fucking everything, and, like, now it's just not as like that. It's a little bit more just, like, careful, because I just don't have the energy to fight with people anymore.
Yeah.
But... it's like, I want to say no to dating apps completely. Like, I haven't been on apps in years, but I kind of want to be like... I'm sorry if you're on them, but I just like, I have the opinion that dating apps are just rushing something and getting in the way of something happening naturally. It's like love or whatever should just flow into your life. It's not something that, you know, you get on an app, you swipe and you're like, that person's hot. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, to me it just seems really kind of backwards.
It's really archaic, I agree.
It's trippy, and I'm just like, you're so but I feel heavy saying even this, like, you're so in a rush to make this connection happen that you go, you swipe, you find someone good looking, you go on a date with them, and it's just like, no, do shit that you're interested in, and then click off that mutual. I don't know, not that I have the solution, it's not like I'm gallivanting around with the love of my life, but I don't know, I get really passionate over this shit because I'm just like,
so
why are we forcing stuff?
Well, I think it's a really worthy cause to get passionate over, because like, right now at this point in time, like every time I think about like all dis-ease in our like mental health,
dis-ease,
it's like community, right? It's like lack of community. And right now we're living in this like parody of connection. Like, it's not connection. We're like more disconnected than we've ever been before in the entire like history of mankind. But we're playing out this hilarious parody for connection by being like, at the like, you know, just opening my phone and within 30 seconds I can meet the love of my life. Like, no, you fucking can't. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. Who knows? But I don't think, and I guess it's really interesting when you're people like us who are like really expressive, really physically expressive, like I am not everyone's cup of tea, right? Like,
me either.
Covered in weird fucking tattoos, like a bit of a psycho, really like emotional, like if you were to read through my like dating bio, if I had one, like it would be chaos. And so it's like, no one's gonna swipe right on that shit, right? Like, but I'm like one of the most endearing people you'll ever meet in real life.
You are.
But like, 6 photos and like 5 questions don't like leave enough space for that. And like, I think that if you're a person that can be summarized in that much time, and that somebody can like have an idea of you in that much time, then like, go get a hobby.
Go get a fucking hobby. Like, go get interesting. But I'd rather get to 60 and like, if I'm not going to experience that like fucking pull the rug whatever from out underneath me, I don't want it. Like, I want that real kind of real deal love, the one that you show up for, that you cultivate within yourself. Like, but yeah, no, it's good. This is really, I think, what I needed, because it's like there is so much that wants to be shared. And
do you know what I've realized lately as well, though? This is like something that I've like really been kind of like sitting within myself, because I'm the same. Like, I'm like, I want like psycho passion. I want someone that like stimulates every single part of me in every single way. And I've had it before, so I know that it exists. But like, I have spent so much time putting so much emphasis on it and being so devastated that I don't have it, and looking around and being like, why is it so easy for everyone else, and why is this so fucking hard for me? But I've realized that like you say, like my best friend, I have like one of the most stunning relationships with on planet Earth. My little brother, stunning. Like, my son, stunning. Like, you've got this amazing relationship with your brother, right? That like, I've never met him, but I can see how beautiful it is. Like, it feels comparative to what I have with my little brother. And like, I'm like, oh, those things are like so fucking valuable, far and beyond like what happens in a romantic relationship. Like, yes, the romantic relationship like hold up a really gnarly mirror to you, and you're like forced to look at your shit in like the most hectic ways imaginable. But the volatility, like, occasionally it just outweighs the benefit, right? So it's like,
fucking earth.
I don't know, I've just been learning to like really lean into like the romance in my everyday relationships far more than same thing. It's like, if you're not being fed by the people in your life, why are they there?
100%.
Like, if you have to like go to a dating app like every 30 seconds and keep on like going through it because the people in your life are not stimulating you, like, time for an overhaul.
I couldn't agree more. Well said. I didn't know we were going to do a segment on dating apps, but I'm keen, and we'll follow through with the fucking thing on the blog as well. You wrote a passage on your gram about how easily people reveal themselves. Basically, you can just tell when people are not giving you kind of what you need, and instead of going along with it, you just have to face the disappointment. Do you ever stumble when you realise that people's intentions aren't as pure as yours? My brother said to me the other day, he was like, Kat, you got to realise that, like, you know, although you go about your life with like pure intentions and doing sweet things. Like not everyone is like that.
Like this has been like a really hard learned lesson for me, but like I guess expectation is like the mother of all disappointment, right?
That's it.
And you can't, again, like back to that like stoic living life with like stoic philosophy.
Yeah.
You cannot control anything except yourself and the way you treat others.
That's it.
And so, yeah, I mean, I've lost so many friendships in the last few years, like in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. Like people I thought I would be with for a lifetime, but they've just gone, you know, in an instant. And there's been, you know, I take responsibility for my part in all of them, because I can see that level of expectation that I have, because I've decided to treat people in a certain way, and I've decided to show up with like, you know, an unending well of like love and provision for literally everyone in my life, and then it's not met. And then I'm so devastated and so disappointed, but having to get to that point of realizing that that's no one else's responsibility but mine, and like can take with a grain of salt, you know, I think that we have this, especially when we're thoughtful and when we want to understand things and when we want to go deep with stuff. It's like, I think that there's like a story that can get created in the midst of that, where we're like, oh, it's a reflection of my worth, and oh, it's this, and oh, it's this, and you know, we fuck ourselves over before we get even to their front door, you know, like
100%,
and so I think that like just having that realization that like not everything means something.
That's a big one, hey, 'cause I feel like I'm always just trying to get to the bottom of it, trying to learn a lesson from everything. But that was another intention coming into the year, no expectations, just appreciation. But it's a big thing, breaking that, and just because it's just like, I don't know, you go through life and nothing's fucking certain, except your next, the breath that you're currently having. So,
and just like allowing yourself to like, allowing the way that you're treated by people to like be information. But it is really good information, right? Like it's like, hey,
clear.
I don't call you on your birthday because I wasn't thinking about you on your birthday. And it's like, I think that we have like, I had this exact conversation with my mum this morning, right? Like I was like, oh, you know, this guy that I had broken up with a little while ago, and we had this really deep, beautiful, amazing connection. It was so beautiful, but it was quite volatile, and you know, at times like not what either of us needed, but it's like something that I didn't necessarily want to let go of. And like,
I know the feelings.
It sucks. The shittiest scenarios to find yourself in. But he kind of like, you know, I'm like building up the strength to like not contact him and just, you know, not cut him off, but just be like, hey, it rattles me when I hear from him. He just keeps like, I'll go 2.5 weeks of not contacting me, and then he'll contact me, but it's this very shallow like, how's everything going? How's your heart? How's life? But it's like, hey, give me this like text message summary to like placate these feelings that I'm having that maybe you're moving on, or you know, whatever it is. And I was having this exact conversation with her this morning where I'm like, my boundaries are being crossed in this way, where I'm like, what I really want to say to you is, hey, I would like to be in a relationship with you. I've made that really clear. If that's not what you're here for, please stop contacting me.
Again, it's the intention thing. It's like, don't come here for a little supply of like what I've got to give if you don't have an intention behind the reason why you're contacting me.
But I'm scared of the reality, right? Which the reality may be.
The reality.
I don't want to have a relationship with you. Like I'm holding on for this like potential possibility sometime in the future, and so I won't be honest with you because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot for down the line, right? But so I'm like swallowing myself in the present for the hope of a potential future that is not here nor there.
Okay.
And so it's like, my mum was like, be honest. What's the worst that can happen? Like, yes, you might receive some hurtful news, which is that he doesn't want to be with you, and he may, you know, or he doesn't know that he wants to be with you, but he's not willing to put in the work right now. But then, you know, like, what people do, how they treat you is really good information. And
it's beautiful information.
You just have to thank them. My mum was saying, she was like, just ask him to stop contacting you if he has no intention of having a deep and meaningful relationship with you. Yep. Which doesn't mean like, hey, you have to be my future husband. But like, please, if you contact me, be like, hey, do you want to go get a coffee? And like sit with me and like be a human. Don't just be like, oh yep, tick, she's feeling okay, yep, she hasn't moved on, tick.
Just like, don't forget about me.
Hello. I read something the other day that was like how to find a narcissist, like see how they treat you on your birthday. But it's interesting, I listened to this really epic podcast the other day that was talking about psychology speak out in the wild and how dangerous it can be. And I am like so guilty of this, like all the time. Like I'm like, psychopath, the narcissist. Like it's a lot of people not going to therapy, like bandying about phrases that they don't really understand.
100%.
Not that therapy is like the be all and end all, but like
necessary.
Somebody disagreeing with you isn't them being a narcissist or gaslighting you. That's just, you know. So it's tricky.
I love when they disagree with me.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. There are some things you can only learn on your knees. What's the biggest lesson you've learned when you didn't think you'd be able to get back up? Question.
It's a good question. It's really interesting because I feel like it's actually the most simple things that bring me to my knees. Like, I am really strangely capable in real crisis. Like, wow. As you know, my brother passed away 2 years ago, and I was like, it was like a call to action for me, like spiritually, and I stepped up in every imaginable way in my entire life, and I like carried so much of my family. I held my brother's funeral, wrote his eulogy. Like, I was like, yep, I'm here. This is what I'm made for. I'm made to like pull people through crisis. So it's like the smallest things that bring me to my knees. A guy sending me a text message and I'm like,
losing my brother, that would I don't know, there'd be questions after that, you know. I feel like it's a natural process of being like, can I go on without them? But yeah, it was cool reading a little bit about how Banjo fared and how naturally he just kind of stepped up and was just so beautiful throughout that as well. Just like naturally, I feel like you've just passed that on to him. If you're
kids are amazing though, right? Because it's like, I mean, I think since my brother passed away, I've always had a really, really odd curiosity with death and just thought that it was like the most fantastic thing that we get to do as humans, right? Like, as people who are alive. But when I was young, I was like always really oddly fascinated by death and have like, carried that through. And so when my brother died, it was like, you know, his life was like fraught with so much challenge and so much struggle and addiction. And there was like, you know, it was so hard for him to be alive, and he wanted to die constantly. Like, he used to talk about all the time, and there were so many incredible auspicious events surrounding him dying, like so many things that happened that I was just like, this is literal magic. But so it's like that, you know, life and death like share a border in that way, like, or like death and birth share a border in that way. So kids, I feel, are just like, they're so familiar with that between world space because they've like not long come from it. And Banjo, like, I don't know, it's so wild. He was so perfect at, I remember like within the few days of my brother passing away, we would like have these family dinners, and you know, we all kind of just like came together really quickly. It was in the middle of COVID, and so we were not able to have like a proper funeral. We weren't able to like go see my brother's body. Like, there were so many things that were really restrictive during that time. So it was like, to add like insult to injury of like losing someone, that time made it like a billion times harder, right? And it was just that sort of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give my dead brother's body COVID. It was ridiculous. Banjo we'd be around the dinner table, and he would be like holding circle with my family about my brother, you you know, like he'd be like, so why don't we go around the circle and everyone can say what they love most about Jake? And, you know, even just like hearing my brother's name on the mouth of my little babe was just like, it was just this like constant bringing back to earth of the reality of what had happened. And I think that like, because, you know, you're like grieving and you're like shepherding a little person through grief, I think for me it was like a really amazing impetus to like go into it with like veracity. Like I was like, I'm facing this. Yeah. There was no part of me that was like, oh, I can't look at this. I really have faced it and have taken years of like really being with grief and really allowing it to wash over me, and, you know, holding the hand of my little one as he's also going through that same thing. And we've had so many deaths occur since then. Like our dog just like tragically snaps its neck under the wheel of our car, and Banjo's right there watching it happen. Like our neighbour died that morning. He was like, you know, with a dead body, like stroking her head that morning. And, you know, most adults haven't been with a body before, but he was like so comfortable and so beautiful in that space. So yeah, like being with him during that has been just like the greatest reminder of like how lucky we are to be alive. And
for sure.
Yeah.
And how natural the process actually is as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I usually like to finish the episode by asking if there's something you've discovered recently that's made you excited, or a conversation you've had, or anything that you've picked up that has made you have a little glimmer.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot lately about my brother, and so it's been like 2 years since he passed away, and I guess just like his legacy, like what is the purpose of this like horrible experience, right? So my brother, context, was a heroin addict for most of his life, and he died of what we assume is a drug overdose, but it's all very unclear because he was by himself in his apartment and they just found him dead on the floor. And it was, the timing of it was quite odd because he'd just been in rehab and he'd come out of rehab and blah, 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 blah. But I've been thinking about him a lot and about his legacy and about addiction in general and how we deal with it in Australia and worldwide, really. And something I realized throughout the course of like loving somebody who was addicted to drugs. My two other brothers are also addicts, and my eldest brother has now recovered, but it's been, decades of having like 3 siblings who are addicts, so it's a lot. Yeah. And I'm not an expert, but I like have the lived experience of like being in a family that's walking that journey. And I started reading lots of books about addiction, and I started thinking on it a lot. And essentially, I think Gabor Mate says this, it's like if you were to create a system to keep people addicted, you would create exactly the system that we have now for dealing with addiction. We have it so wrong. And like my brother spent quite a bit of time in jail, for petty crimes, but they just were like, oh, drug addicts, get him off the streets, kind of thing. And the criminalization thing, the like taking him away from society thing, like he really wanted to work, get a job, right, in the kind of year before he died, and he was like, oh, I could work for Meals on Wheels. They wouldn't let him because he had a criminal record. I could volunteer in the community garden. They wouldn't let him because he had a criminal record.
You're joking.
And so essentially, all of the research suggests that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it is connection. And we don't have it, right? And we deny it to the people who need it the most. And there's all these parts of the world where they're doing it very differently. And in Portugal, they kind of got to this point where they were like, fuck, addiction is so rife here. What are we going to do? The way we're dealing with it, it's not working. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And so they pulled together this like amazing panel of psychologists and doctors and people who had like really dedicated themselves to studying addiction, and they were like, oh, realize this point, you know, like these people need connection and these people need community. And so they decided, we're just going to legalize every fucking drug under the sun. We're going to legalize LSD, we're going to legalize cannabis, we're going to legalize heroin, we're going to legalize everything, not just decriminalize but legalize all of it. And we're going to take the money that we took locking these people up, we're going to take the money that we took just like trying to hide them away in rehabs, we're going to take the money, all of that, and we're going to put it into systems that support them to re-enter society. And not just rehabs that like are like, hey, here's a little fake version of the world like sorted out in there, but like, you're a baker before, we're going to go to a bakery and say, hey, if you employ this guy, we'll pay half his wage. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly this thing starts, like they test this thing over many years. So I think it was like 2001 when they first started doing it. And 15 years later, the like rates of like drug related crime had dropped like 85%. Addiction had dropped by like 50%. Recovery was like 85% more likely in Portugal than anywhere else in the world. And obviously it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Of course there's people that are going to fall through the cracks. Of course it's not going to work for everyone. But yeah, I started to... Anyway, so since my brother died, I've like had this like ongoing like, how do I make this mean something? Because he was a really fucking stunning person who was highly sensitive. And like I said before, like the measure of an unwell society is the wellness of its like most sensitive characters.
I fucking love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, how do I want to do something. I want to start. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it looks. I don't know if it is musical. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what the fuck it looks like. But I really want to start working. No one in Australia is really talking about it, right? We're just like, methadone, great, we've got it, they're covered. Yeah. It doesn't fucking work. I've watched the effects of methadone on my brothers for decades and it's fucked up. Yeah. It is worse than heroin. I would like sooner pay for heroin on the street than give methadone. Yeah. It's fucked. So it's not the answer. And I don't necessarily know exactly what the answer is. I don't know if like...
The answer isn't more drugs.
No, the answer isn't more drugs. And the answer is certainly not like criminalizing and making these people into like, you know, the unthinkables.
They're homeless. They just need a fucking chat. Like,
and a community and a reason to get up in the morning, you know?
That's it. Like, I noticed myself smoking so much more weed when I had like less friends and less connection. I just couldn't find that within anyone. I was smoking weed to connect with myself. And yeah, it's an interesting one. Hey.
Well, like, and I get it because it's like, you know, I've taken fucking heaps of drugs in my life. I love psychedelics. Like, I love drugs. But, and I get it because, like, I understand that what we want is to be, like, astonished, right? Yeah. Like, we're, like, humans on this magical planet having this magical experience. And if we can't quite, you know, if the very, very real reasons why we're not feeling good, we can't afford to live, like, we've got no fucking food, we're, like, got no community, like, all these things are very real reasons to feel really fucking depressed, right?
They are real reasons.
And so if we're, like, under that and we have this quick fix, it's like, hey, you could feel wonder again.
Real quick. Even just a little swipey.
Exactly. Like, get on a dating app, have a joint, get on it, like, have a quick fix for, like, this thing that you feel. It's no fucking wonder that we end up addicted to all this shit, right?
And everyone's just actually empty.
Yeah.
And it's like, from getting off the ciggies, getting off cheese and things like that. Always going on about it, but I still want it though, but then you can face your shit a little bit clearer and be like, I did notice that when smoking weed, I want to connect so much. Like, I smoke weed to connect a lot of the time. And I feel sometimes like, obviously I have trouble connecting, full stop. I can have a chat with any fucking person on the street, whatever, but that true full-blown connection doesn't happen all that often.
I see you, Cappy.
Yeah, she gets me.
I see you.
Well, thanks for coming on.
It's
and
my pleasure.
for flowing so freely. I feel like, my period really got me this week.
alright.
Normally I'd be more prepared and maybe a bit more peppy and all that jazz. Maybe I wouldn't cry, but
You're perfect. Crying's beautiful.
but no, it was really nice to chat and you got such a way with words, eh? I could just hear you tell stories for so long. You're like, enough about that, and I was like, no. I was like, keep going. Like, maybe we just have to hang out.
She can talk.
Yeah. No, it's good. I love people who can talk. But side note, what's in your cookies?
Macadamias, oats,
Yum.
fruit. They're good.